to the 2020 EmpowerMint Conference. Hello from the exec team.
My name is Josh Foster, co-founder and CEO.
And I'm Sharon Pearson, co-founder and CTO.
And my name is Marquita Amwa, the editor-in-chief. We're excited to share this dynamic panel with you today.
Please feel free to take notes and join us in the live breakout room to debrief after the panel concludes. Hey everybody, thank you for joining us. We want to introduce you to this impact panel that we have now for the EmpowerMint 2020 conference. We have two really special guests here today. I want to speak as little as possible, so we'll dive right into Riley and Josh introducing yourselves, and we'll get into this. Thank you for joining us. Riley, you want to start off?
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for having me, Josh, and other Josh. It's great to see you too. My name is Riley Jones. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Block Software. We build software platforms for workforce development, helping people find jobs, prepare for jobs in the new economy, particularly, ahead of things like automation. My other day job is I'm the president of the Columbia University Black Alumni Council. Thrilled to be here with two of our best and brightest BAC alums. And so I'm very interested in the social entrepreneurship and social impact space, which we'll get into, but that's kind of where I am right now.
Awesome. All right, Josh, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity, Josh and Riley. It's nice to see your face and be able to put a face to a name. My name is Josh Martin. I'm an NFL linebacker, big brother, son, dog dad, content creator. For me, it's all about trying to find things where I can have fun and enjoy myself, but also be able to give back. Most recently, I had a project where I traveled across the country and recorded conversations about social issues and how they impact different communities as a way not only to educate myself, but to educate others with the ultimate goal of, making a difference and being able to push that needle.
Love it. Thanks, guys. And like you said, we really appreciate you two taking your time. And we want to dive into hearing more about the impact that you two are creating. I think a good place to start off is kind of hearing your impact or origin story. Where do the roots of your impact begin? If you can pinpoint it, it could be something from when you were little, something last week you realized was the thing that really drives you for your impact. But if you can kind of pinpoint that and see where that started, I think that'll be really, really good for people to hear. Josh, how about we start off with you?
Yeah, for me, it's pretty simple. I was the oldest of six. Both of my parents were educators at a point in time, and they were probably the largest influence on me when it comes to giving back and having an impact on your community. They're the best examples that I could think of, and not only the ways that they might have offered specific services or favors, giving back to their students in their classroom, but also little acts of kindness. Maybe they gave food to a panhandler on the side of the road, or offered prayer. Whatever they did to have an impact and a positive effect on their community, they did, and I definitely saw that firsthand, and that was a major influence for me.
That's big. That's really big.
I would also, I guess, echo the family aspect of it. I think you caught me on a day when I'm super reflective about that. I literally spent this entire morning talking to my granddad. I'm back home in Chicago. I'm talking to my granddad about his upbringing in rural Tennessee in the early 1940s, and his grandfather, who was a sharecropper, and how he grew up until the time he went to school. He was the only person in his family to go to college. He was a sharecropper, and how, you fast forward to from that to, he was able to be a teacher and really influential in Chicago sports and that kind of thing. And even, me being able to go to Columbia and get a law degree and all those kinds of things, all of that happened in the span of less than 100 years. That kind of thing definitely speaks to me. I think the one example that really drives it home for me, I remember when my granddad was still teaching when I was a little kid. And I asked him, I said, Granddad, why did you become a teacher? I know you could do a lot of other things. You're a smart guy. Like, why'd you become a teacher? And his response was, well, somebody had to do it, right? Like, if he didn't do it, there were a lot of kids that otherwise wouldn't have any guidance, whether that was on the football field or on the track field where he was doing coaching. So yeah, that really speaks to me. Just that, it's ingrained in my family culture as well.
That's huge. I think it's really big to know where your impact come from and the fact that it was rooted deeply in your family. I mean, definitely, I'm sure you guys feel really blessed to have a family that nourished that. That's just really huge. I think something that's really interesting to think of though is as you continue throughout your career or so far from then when you realized it till now, the different experiences and things that you start to be able to leverage to create an even bigger impact. Riley, for you, I know you have a really good network that you've created and resources that you've acquired through your time in academia as a Forbes 30 under 30 honoree, as president of BAC. There's a lot of different spaces and things that I'm sure you're able to leverage off of each other to make the biggest impact you can. How have you been able to leverage those things to amplify that impact?
Yeah, it's probably I guess if I had a secret sauce, that would be it, right? That I can speak a million different languages, right? I speak social impact, I speak law, I speak entrepreneurship, I speak nonprofit, I speak academia. All of those things are somewhat related, right? But they all have a little bit of a different flavor.
Yeah.
And I would say my kind of personal and professional experiences started out in government. So when I first got to New York, when I first started at Columbia, actually, I helped a woman get elected to New York City Council. Worked in her office when she got elected. Was working on housing policy, that kind of thing. Spent the summer working for the City of Chicago Department of Innovation and Technology, exclusively focused on government issues, really, right? And thinking about how we use policy to do things like improve broadband for low-income communities. That introduced me to the world of entrepreneurship in a way that I promise you, this was 2014, so 6 years ago. I didn't know anything about the word of entrepreneurship. To me, the word entrepreneur meant someone without a job. So it was the kind of thing that I got exposed to really haphazardly that has changed my life. And so for me, as someone who, has always been interested in a lot of things, I really find it gratifying to kind of be in social impact, because all the things I cared about when I kind of stepped back and reflected was that, I wanted to see young people win, right? Like I want to see them get good jobs. I want to see them do well in school. I want to see them live healthy lives. I want to see them prosper. And those are the kinds of things that I cared about. And that was the kind of common thing that I saw. So being able to speak the different languages and the different kind of operate in those different spheres has been really, really important for any success that I've had.
That's awesome. That's a really, really great thing to realize, how you can leverage those pieces together to make that impact. I like that. Josh, very similar question for you, but a little bit different in the sense of how have you been able to leverage your experiences and connections that you've made through your time as not even just as an NFL player, but as someone who has been exposed to a difference in people and places and ideas of which you grew up from, because you didn't grow up as an NFL player, you became one. And so being able to figure out how to navigate these worlds, I'm sure has been a lot of experiences that you've been able to pick up.
Yeah, no, I think Riley, you made a really good point. We all carry different identities, I guess, that sort of inform our experience and our beliefs. For me, most people see, hey, he's an NFL linebacker. I was also a musician in a former life, so I have an appreciation for the arts. Yeah, so I play trombone mostly. You can probably see it in the background. I pick it up every now and then. But yeah, so I think walking those different spaces, going to a school like Columbia and then ending up in an NFL locker room, kind of having a foot in multiple worlds, if that makes sense. That's been a huge benefit to me. I forget the original question. Can you remind me?
Oh yeah, no problem. How have you been able to leverage the experiences that you picked up throughout that?
Oh yeah, okay.
To create an impact. Yeah.
Absolutely. So when I was at Columbia, I had a chance to study anthropology. We read those ethnographies and kind of got to take a deep dive into different cultures through the lens of an anthropologist. So I tried to apply that with the unique access that I have as an NFL athlete, right? When I make a phone call or I shoot a DM, people typically respond, right? And I tried to use that to learn, right? I felt like I have this particular expertise, and being an NFL linebacker, that's where I've dedicated the majority of my career, building myself as an athlete. And with that career, I've gained a platform. It's also left me with a lot of questions in how I can make the largest impact. And for me, that starts with learning about the issues and what those issues are, the context of those issues. And that's what I sought out to do. And I did that by using my access to gather experts and influencers to have these conversations around these issues, and then sharing that those conversations with my audience, the people that I have an influence over, that follow me along social media, cover my network, and that's how I put it to use, man. Like, it's really, I recognize that there's so much to learn and so much to know. I don't have all the answers, but I can make a few phone calls and find the people that do, and find out for everyone. So that's kind of what I try to do.
That's huge. And just to kind of rip off of that, man. Well, the last point you made around being able to find the answer. So last week I got asked to basically vet someone's cancer research proposal. I am not a scientist. I have no background. They're like, oh, you should fundraise for this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Within, I would say 2 hours, I was able to get a cancer researcher from Memorial Sloan Kettering, a chemical physicist, a chemical engineer, and a medical student all on the phone, just because I went to college with them. And that to me was kind of crazy, because that's not the world I grew up in. But to have these people and have that access is important. And then the only other thing I wanted to add, Josh, and I wonder if you agree, coming from the world of music is all about collaboration. It's all about taking what you hear in one place and translating into another place. And that to me has been one of the greatest things. I actually started my first dream was to be a country singer. It's a long story.
we gotta hear that. We gotta hear that on another
didn't
time.
Even know that.
Yeah, another time probably.
But got into that, and then R&B and gospel, and I actually classical music was one of the biggest things. So being able to take the things that you learn in a different area and apply it, man, that is critical for anything.
For sure. No, I like how you mentioned collaboration. When I look back, obviously I play team sports for a living. My first team, if it wasn't my family, was really my band. In middle school, high school, working together to create something or to solve a problem is how large problems get solved. And that's just that's another way I try to approach my thinking when it comes to bringing people together to discuss these issues.
Yeah. No, that's just really awesome connection you guys made for that. A lot of times when I have conversations about what is one thing that I could choose and pick from in terms of a talent that I think is kind of can be spread across what I do, it usually comes back to music for that reason too, because you really learn the ins and out of collaboration. You learn the ins and out of, in my case, for improvising, because I started off with jazz, and so learning how to improvise and things like that, playing the jazz bass and stuff, is you really pick up of what's around you, and that's huge. That's kind of back to the question of being able to leverage what you experience or what's around you to be able to make the impact that you're searching for, which is in that sense for music, good music. And yeah, that's awesome, man. It's crazy. We could literally start a band right now.
Don't count on me, man. I haven't picked it up in too long.
It's riding a bike, I heard.
It'll be that's what they say.
Man, that's just good though. And I think that's a pretty good segue into the next question. Is about picking up things that you may not look at right now, but when you move, let's say fast forward 30 years down the line, and you take a look back, you may not have taken a look because you were go, 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 go. But if you were to take a look back, fast forward 30 years from now, and you could kind of see the lasting legacy that you made over the last 3 decades, is there a picture that you see there? Is there a painting you can describe, or a way that you can kind of hope that you would look back at? I know that's a meaty question, but it's a fun one, I think.
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. You obviously provided the questions before. I don't know if the audience needs to know that, but I've had some time to think about it. And I read that question. I was like, I don't know what next week looks like, with coronavirus and even the NFL season. For me, I think in terms of broad goals, I'm really interested in shifting perspectives, opening people's eyes, showing them things that they haven't seen or considered that might influence the way that they see the world. for the better, obviously. And you know that's at the very least what I'd like to be known for. You know, 30 years down the road, if people say, "Hey, I learned a lot from Josh, and he really opened my eyes to what's possible," especially when it comes to working together to solve some of the issues that we face. You know, I'd be pretty happy.
I like that. That's good. What about yourself, Riley?
I'm thinking about history. That usually is what I go to whenever I'm thinking of like how I answer a lot of these questions. Because to me, what's coming to mind is this idea of the Great Migration and how in places like Chicago and places like where you grew up in Philadelphia, you had people who were leaving a situation to get to something better. And then 30 years from that, which is like roughly today, right? The situation is kind of the same. And so I guess when it comes to the things that I care about, again, like education and just opportunity, I want us to be having a different conversation. I want us to be figuring out less about like how we survive and more about how we thrive as a kind of, not just in this country, right, but just as a global community. How do we work together? How do we collaborate? How do we love each other, man? That sounds super ethereal, but I really mean that like I think this is the time when, you know, we should be solution oriented. We got to figure out ways to actually operationalize the things that we're doing. And I think that's something that I've learned and skills that I picked up through the Black Alumni Council and through entrepreneurship. And so I guess 30 years from now, man, I just want to see us thriving and prospering.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Riley. I mean, I think especially today, it seems like we're putting out a lot of fires. We're correcting a lot of wrongs that have, you know, happened, and we're kind of catching up. It'd be really cool if, you know, instead we were sort of planting this forest of abundance where everyone can achieve and prosper. So I definitely appreciate and respect that outlook.
Thanks.
I like that. That's really good. Those are some really good answers. I think we have some time for another question. This one wasn't given to you before, Josh, so there's no time for you to prepare for this
Oh
one
no.
here. But if both of you could pick one person to work on a project with, who would that person be and what would that project be? It doesn't even have to be anything in your field right now. Just a fun one. You could take a few minutes to think about it. More
You
like
know what? I'm going off the cuff, man. The first person that popped into my mind was Michelle Obama.
I knew somebody was going to say Obama, so I'm not going to say that.
You know what? You know, I don't know if it's because I watched Becoming a few weeks ago, so it was in the back of my mind. But just the incredible grace and intelligence and I just feel that Michelle doesn't get the respect that she deserves, man. And it'd be incredible to have the opportunity to work with her. I don't know in what capacity. I'm still thinking through that, but you know, I'm sure it would be something great as it relates to, you know, solving some issue, obviously. But
yeah.
I don't know if that's the best answer, but I know who at least. I don't know what we're doing or what we're solving, but I know who I feel really comfortable teaming up with.
It's funny. I think kind of off the cuff. I mean, this could be nothing you would even be interested in, but I feel like if you and Michelle Obama were to collaborate, I could see you guys somehow creating some sort of like children's book or a children's movie or something because of how your work, the work you do with the Academy in Harlem and the work she does in writing and all of that. I could really see something along those lines. I don't know if I'm just reaching, but I think that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, man, for the kids, the future.
Yeah.
You know, obviously she's done a lot of work with the kids, so I could see that happening for sure.
That's cool. What about you, Riley? Did you think of somebody else except for Barack?
I did. And, you know, I'm a Southsider, so I can't say them. It's too cliche. But the person I would pick is Paul Robeson, who was a heck of a dude, man. I mean,
he did a lot.
We did a lot. And, you know, I will say, you know, truthfully that a lot of the things that I've, you know, tried to do in my short time here on Earth have been modeled after him. So, you know, he was a lawyer, he was an activist, he was a singer. The first time I heard him sing Old Man River, I cried because he was just that powerful singer. So I think I would want to sing with Paul Robeson is my answer. But because his music, he has this phrase, the artist must fight for freedom or slavery. I have no choice. I've made my choice. There's no alternative. His art and his music was so informed by like all the other stuff that he did. I just feel like sitting and talking to him for like an hour or two would have just been such an enlightening experience.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I think Paul Robeson, whoever's watching, if you don't know who he is, you should definitely look him up. It's funny. When I was in elementary school, at church, we used to have Black History Month projects. We need to learn about somebody, and so my dad was like, "You should look up Paul Robeson." And man, he was a really, really, really awesome person. If I'm remembering right, he played football too, correct?
He was. They said at the time
Because he went to Rutgers.
Yes, they said he was the best person to ever play football at that time. And he got, I don't know if y'all care about the history lesson, but he was getting brutalized by his teammates while he was practicing. And he stuck through it and went on to be one of the greatest football players that ever lived. But yeah, he was amazing.
He's an awesome guy. Man, that's good. Paul Robeson, Michelle Obama. All I know is I want front row tickets to the Paul Robeson and Riley Jones musical concert. If that was somehow able to happen, I would love that. And I want a signed book from you and Michelle Obama. And then I think we're even. We're good.
Hey, and if I can manage a signed book if that were to happen for sure.
Appreciate that. That's awesome. I definitely appreciate the words of wisdom and just honesty that you guys have been given here. And I think this is something that will be really, really impactful, like this track, impactful to continue on that impact that you guys are giving. We have some time if you guys, either of you have closing thoughts. It can be closing thought, quote, time to plug something that you may be doing or information you want to give out.
I had a question for you, Josh. What sort of inspired this series? I wasn't too sure about that, or I guess didn't know.
No, yeah. It's been something that has been brewing for a while. When Sharon and I, our co-founder, started Mint back in 2018, one of the first things that we really wish there was a conference that could just bring together minds from different industries, young African-American, minority, just entrepreneurs and professionals. And that was in the very, very beginning, we thought that. Then we started thinking more logistically. We're like, why would anybody come to a conference that they don't even know what the company's about or what the platform is or has seen anything that they've done before? So we decided to build up toward that. As you guys know, with Mint Mag and with different programs and things we've been doing through Mint, we want to really build a community and a consistency of content and collaboration with a lot of different people. And just everything just kind of fell into place this year. We were like, in the beginning of the year, we're like, I think this is the time for us to do it. And then COVID happened and we were like, it's crazy. Most of the things we do is digital already. So this being virtual was a no-brainer. And I was like, it's even more of a time to be able to do this. And so we're like, I think this is it. And so we want to just be able to bring together just great minds like yourselves to be able to share what you're doing and hopefully have a chance for a lot of people who are signing on and coming onto the conference to be able to learn and then collaborate in the different live breakout rooms you're going to have and things like that. And so, yeah, it was one of those things where we thought about it 2 years ago, but it finally felt like the right time.
Cool, man. That's awesome. It's always great to see people have a vision and be able to execute.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely appreciate both of you for your time in doing this. And I think this is definitely going to be a start for people who don't know you all to really start watching the impact you all are making. And for those of us that already know you, it's just great to continue to be able to have that time to sit down and talk with you about it.
Definitely. And if I could add one last thing,
yeah.
I'm thinking about one of my favorite artists, Snoop D-O-double-G. When they asked him to do a verse in the style of Migos, he said, who could be? He said, that's not me. He said, you do you. That's not me. He said, who can be you but you? That is the message, man. Like, if you figure out how to do you figure out what your lane is, stick with that lane, and you'll be good.
That's real. Can't end it much better than that. I mean, with that, I definitely want to thank you too. I want to thank everybody for logging on to the Empowerment Conference 2020 for this awesome impact track, and we want to thank y'all.
Sweet. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Riley.
Thanks.